Have you got your whiskey nearby?
Hey, bro.
Okay, all right. I'm going to start the show right away. Are you ready?
Right. I'm ready as ever.
Here we go. It's John Savage. This is What Your Poison, and oh my golly, this is such an honor and a privilege. And I know I don't know what to say. I'm blessed and happy to have the Minister of Music in the house tonight, live from his home. Pops, you are most welcome.
Thank you so much, John. I've been dying to get onto this show for a long while. By the way, there was an article, I think it was 1992. There was a British reporter, a journalist who came with me, and we went out into the bushes, to some of the rural areas. And he wrote this article, and he actually said the unofficial minister of music. So,
well,
yeah, that's where the word comes from, actually. So I always make a correction and say unofficial, whatever that means.
70 years on, it's time to make it official. And you know what? I've got just the thing to do it.
What's that? What's that?
Well,
yay.
It's a great privilege to have you on the show. Yeah, let's get the show warmed up with, let's have a look what we got. So what we got for you is a Highland Park Viking Scars. Do you see that? It says Viking Scars.
Right. I have it. Yes.
And the reason I chose Viking Scars for you, along with my friends at Whiskey Bros, is because in the last few months, I've gotten to know you. I've done some work with you. You are a Viking with the battle scars. I know you've had an extremely tough year, especially on a personal level. But whenever I speak to you, you have the enthusiasm of a teenager, and I love. It's incredible. You are amazing.
Thank you, John. I'm trying hard. Every day when I talk to people who seem to be like down and all that, and I say to them, listen, mate, this is how you look at life. You say to yourself, today is the first day of the rest of my life, and I'm going to make the best of every minute of it. So stop feeling down and think about it that way. I mean, I said to him that imagine you wake up one morning and you see the sun comes out from the south. You have a heart attack straight away. So we start appreciating things. So every day is the beginning of the rest of your life. Make the best of it. And that's the best advice someone had ever given me. So thank you, John.
Well, it's just a crazy honor. I mean, everything. I mean, we've done a few little things together, but I know that I did an interview with you around the pandemic.
Right.
And you just spoke for an hour. I mean, it was incredible. But what was so amazing about you, and I've seen you do this before as well, you really managed to understand the heartbeat of a situation. You seem to have, and it obviously comes through in your music and all the amazing way you approach everything. You sort of just have your finger on the vein of culture, of people.
Yeah, I get inspired by people every day, I mean, just like 3 days ago, there was a young girl. She couldn't have been older than 13. She looks at me and she looks at me. She says to me, "Oh, Pops." And I looked at her, I said, "Yeah." She says to me, "I'm listening to your music." And this is here in Boksburg. I said, "You listening to my music? Where did you get my music?" She says, my grandfather plays your music and I grew up listening to your music. Now, I mean, that's an example. You look at that and you say, oh my God, these are the people that inspires me. And when you get home, you've got new inspiration. Like, yes, there's this little girl. How many of them are out there, who are looking up to me? And for her, it was such an honor to meet me in person. And I had to sign an autograph. She was coming from school and she says, my dad and my grandfather has never met you, but I'm going to tell them that you are living back in Boksburg again. But you see, John, these are the things that inspires you to continue doing what you're doing. Every day you meet different people and different levels of respect, Mkhulu, or they say, Baba, Prapops, and then you say, hey, man, this is great. I'm enjoying my old age, growing old gracefully. And
No, no.
every,
You're not
every,
growing old
every,
gracefully. You, in the last few months, have learned live streaming and videography and editing. You are still in the thick of it, as far as I'm concerned.
I was quite surprised at myself when we had a problem earlier on with the phone that I could get myself set up so quickly, like boop, 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 just put in the webcam and blah, 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 blah. And like, gosh, I'm in, and thanks to you, John, by the way. Whenever I get stuck with something, I'll always just hit you with a text and say, how do you do this?
Well, for
And I
me,
mean,
what a privilege for me to be able to help you. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I love it. You can text me any time of the night for any problem.
oh, thank you so much, man. I'm loving, where I'm sitting right now, this is where I spend the rest of my day, every day. And there's all these things around me here that keeps me busy. If I'm not video editing, I'm composing music. If I'm not composing music, I'm studying my camera, taking all kinds of shots from different angles and doing all the different things, or just learn more of the technology, because there's a lot of young kids out there who are hungry for knowledge, who don't have access to technology. And I see this as a great opportunity, like I'm doing these things because I feel I still have the strength, because I can. And I can always get these kids to come around to my house and say, this is how this works, this is how that works. So it actually, I was just thinking the other day that how many musicians out there, I hope some of them will watch this program, are battling to get onto the internet. People who don't have money to buy data. And some of these guys are top musicians that we know and we love. And every time you go to Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or any of the social media platforms, you don't see anything about them, not even in print media and stuff like that. And you talk to the guys and say, man, what's happening? I haven't heard from you in months. He says, hey, data, broer, man, data. I don't have data. No gigs, no this. So I was speaking to a friend, Alison Geduld. And this suggestion came up that why can't government, or let's say MTN, Vodacom, and Cell C, or whatever network they are, can't they contribute at least 60 megabytes, 60 gigabytes of data through an organization like SAMRO or whoever it is, to these musicians? I'm not talking to only musicians, but everyone in the performing arts. That includes technicians, cameramen, you just name it, guys, everyone in the performing arts. A lot of the technicians that I know who are working on live stream programs are doing this for free. There's no money, but they're doing it for the love of it. But we need to find some way where musicians or anyone in the performing arts can have access to the internet so they can promote their art. So I don't know, who do we talk to?
You know what? I don't know personally that it's the big brands. I've been speaking to a lot of these guys for years, and they are the monopoly on the data. But I think there are a lot of very cool companies that I've met in the last few years who are trying to solve this problem. And it's really it's the young innovation companies who see that there's opportunity to bring super low cost Wi-Fi into these areas. And I think those guys, they're busy trying to solve it. And some of them I know. There's one called Ikeja. Do you know Ikeja?
Yes.
Those are amazing people who are building they're building infrastructure inside the township. They've got offices in them. They're not just trying to have their name there. They're trying to serve the community.
They're trying to serve the community.
I think it takes time and investment, and we got to support these companies.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I'll stand behind them all the way. If you meet any of them, tell them to call me, and whatever suggestions they want or anything, I'll endorse anything, as long as it will benefit, people in the performing arts.
It's unacceptable that there is an infrastructure, and this is a problem that has been going on for so years that it's still a problem. And particularly,
Yes.
you're right, the pandemic has amplified so many problems, but this
Mm,
one
mm,
seems
mm,
so
mm.
overcomable, easily overcomable.
Yes, yes, yes. Now that we've reached level 1, doors are slowly opening,
Mm.
and I can see some musicians are slowly getting jobs and things like that. But there are still other artists. There are so many artists that I would love to help. I don't have the proper infrastructure, but I'm trying my utmost best. Now it's a better opportunity for artists to actually expose themselves. And I had opened up, I started a channel which is called Zama Zama, the
Zama
busking
Zama.
the busking sessions, and that's
Mm.
open for anyone on a Friday night or a Saturday night, just to go up there and do your thing. Tell the people who you are. They don't have to do anything through me. The name is there, Zama Zama, just go. And funny enough, the irony is I got calls from Facebook messages, inboxes from LA as far as Australia, including China and Noha, and Detroit, of young musicians who saying, we love the name, we don't have a program like that, where people can actually busk. I said, well, this is actually a tribute to those people that we saw in the flea markets. And this is what it is. They want to come onto my show. So now I'm thinking, where are our guys who, because this is mainly for South Africans, but now I'm getting a lot of people from around the globe who wants to get onto Zama Zama, So
This is what I love about you, Pops. You are 71 years old, is that right?
70.
So you're 70 years old. You've been in this industry. You have been a pioneer. You are a legend. You have done so much. And at 70, on this call, you come up with 3 groundbreaking ideas already. Okay, before we go any further, let's do the honors. So this Highland Park 10 was chosen specifically for you for the Viking Scars.
Oh man,
And
I feel so honored for that. Yes.
I've never tasted it. It's a 10-year-old, so it's a good bottle.
Yes.
You've
Wow.
got the same one as me. Let's see your bottle.
Yes, exactly. Yes, mine.
Exactly the same one. So let's should we taste it and see what's in it?
Yes, mine. Yeah.
All right, should we do the honors?
Yes, let's go. I've opened.
Oh, you've opened it already. You didn't even wait for me.
I couldn't.
Are you doing a glass or are you doing a bottle over there?
Goeie bottle, broer.
Are you going bottle? Okay, well, if you're doing that, I'm doing that. No glasses for me. Pops, it is a great honor to be chatting to you right now.
Thank you so much, John.
I would like to, this is to you and your family. I wish you a lot of condolences over the last few months. You've had some very terrible luck, and I've been thinking about you a lot.
Yes.
And the nation sends love to you.
Yes, thank you so much, John. And I want to say thank you to the folk out there as well for sending their love and condolences from around the globe. This was mind-blowing for me that I even got an email from Quincy Jones, and he said in his email, every time I see you and what's happening to you, it makes my soul smile. And I don't even know how to reply to that email because he's such a great man. But anyway, I thought he'd forgotten about me because I played for him in 2004, I think, when he came to South Africa. And I said to myself, this guy is 86 years old and he hasn't forgotten me, and that's a great honor. So this goes to Q as well, and the rest of the world and the rest of the people out there who've been supporting me. I grew old with my fans, and this is for you guys. Here we go, John.
Out the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that? This bottle is beautiful as well, hey?
Exactly. it's smooth.
Mm.
Very smooth. Well, I can tell you one thing, Brew. I will be doing some fantastic editing later after we're done.
What are you editing? Oh, you're going to be doing some Viking Scars editing.
Viking Scars editing, yeah. It's actually just a lesson teaching kids kalimba. There's a family cooperative who said to me they want to teach their children, or they want their children to learn to play the kalimba or the Khoisan mouthbow or anything. And I did a kind of a small pilot, about, I think, 1 minute of me just showing them after I spoke to you and you said, speak to Derek. And so I sent them this, and so they love it. So I'm doing a little kiddies masterclass on how to play the kalimba.
That's amazing.
So,
And is that local or is that international?
What's happening? This is a group of families. I think it's about 12 families who got together. So they have different mentors. Someone will be talking on HIV/AIDS. Someone will be talking on COVID-19. Someone will be doing sculpturing. And then they get together at the end of the month, all these families, and they watch these videos with their kids and have like a family's day every month. So I sent them that and I said, this is what I can do. And they welcomed my idea. So it's like a 20-minute program, getting into it. And they loved the very first one. So they commissioned me to do for the next 6 months, one each and every month, with each and every instrument that I play. So it's so funny, the idea came that all these episodes that I'll be doing, or these mini kiddie master series, is to take, because at the end of every video, I demonstrate, like, this is how you'll play if you become an expert, or do some amazing songs. So I'd love to take those songs and put them together as a CD release, and then, distribute it to these families, So I don't know, it's just in the back of my head, like, so these are the things that I want other musicians to do as well. So it breaks my heart,
Give me a list of all the instruments you can play. Hold on a second. Hopefully there's enough here to get me through this.
Okay. Oh, wow. Amazing. So, John, I studied guitar when I was 14 years old at Dockey House. That's my very first instrument. And then years later, Timmy Thomas, he was an organ player, and his music was banned. One album that was released in South Africa, it was called Why Can't We Live Together? And that was like deep hardcore apartheid days, so that was banned. But he influenced me with his organ. He played this mini pops organ that had a rhythm box, one-man band. So I decided to play the organ. My dad bought me an organ, and I started playing the organ. And then as the years went by, I joined a band as a lead guitarist. So all my life, I've been playing guitar as a lead guitarist. We did Grand Funk, the Doobie Brothers, Chicago, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. We did all those covers.
What year is this? 60s?
Hey?
When are we talking?
Late 60s, early 70s. And so we did everything. I mean, we even attempted to do Hendrix tunes, Van Halen, and all that stuff. And then came the soul era. So we were doing soul music, and, stuff like that. I joined various bands. And then I wrote a song for a band that I was playing with. It's so funny. You live on the East Rand in Johannesburg. If you played in a band in Johannesburg, it means that you're playing in a band in New York, because Johannesburg was like New York to us. And I played in this band that was called Society's Children, which was one of the biggest bands that they had, in the colored township of Western Colored Township, New Clare, Coronation-ville. And they asked me to come and play lead guitar for them. And then I wrote a song for the band. It was called I'm a Married Man, because our bass player, Peter Orendahl, was a handsome devil. All the chicks used to go for him, you know. And then, he just used to score every week, So, and and then finally met a woman who became the love of his life, and they got married. And I said to him, Peter, that's it. And I wrote him this song called "I'm a Married Man." He says, I'm not going to sing that song. I said, you're going to sing it, man. So we played at a club in Fortsburg, Club Matador, which was a very popular club. So, and he said, I don't want to do the song. We rehearsed it. It was beautiful. And all the guys in the band, you got to do it, man. You just got married. He says, hey, but what about the chick? I said, never mind the chicks. You're married now.
You got yours now.
So he did the song, and people just absolutely loved the song. And, during the interval break, some guys came and they said, are you really married? And he goes like, I said, yes, he's married. So keep all the girls away, And he's passed on, unfortunately. And that was in 1971. And then 6 weeks ago on Facebook, somebody sends this track, I'm a Married Man, to my Facebook page. And it took me back to 1971. And I discovered who the guy was. He actually had the 7th single, which was produced by Dan Hill. And I remember very well that Julian Lexon was...
Dan Hill was the electronic... I remember the
Yes,
Dan Hill electronic record.
Sounds Electronics. Sounds Electronics,
that's right.
And everything, yeah. Funny enough that oh gosh, now I'm getting deep into stuff. I shouldn't say this. But anyway.
Bring it on.
Yes. But anyway, he had he used to be an artist for RPM, which was in Chappiestown, where we recorded this track. Julian Lexon was the sound engineer. And these earphones that I'm wearing are from RPM.
Wow.
I was only a kid then. You get naughty and you love the earphones. And you say, gosh, man, I'm not a thief, but I fucking want these earphones, man. And you just slip them in your little bag. And I've had these, and they just sounding just so amazing.
And they look amazing too.
Yes.
I've never seen headphones like that.
Now these are old, man. They from the 60s, virtually from the 60s. I think it's probably the only pair that's still left since then. And so Julian Lexon was the engineer, and Dan Hill played organ on this track. So all the women knew that Peter is a married man. And then this couple of months ago, 2 months ago, I received someone who's got the single, and he said to me, Pops, this is your present. So I want to reissue I'm a Married Man on behalf of our band, Society's Children, because I was the original writer, I wrote the song. So, and I hope that the members of the band, I can't get in touch with them, Rudy Skippers and Brian Billings, Peter passed on, and then myself. So I hope they're still around, because I want to re-release the single, just to see what I sounded like. So those are the two instruments.
Amazing.
And then came June 1976 with the June uprisings, the Soweto uprisings.
Yeah, Sharpeville, right?
Yes, Sharpeville, Soweto, Guguletu, the whole country. And I could see that the country was heading towards something big when they introduced Afrikaans in the black schools. And the students protested against it. And it was a peaceful march on that day. I remember by then, I was still working in a factory. I was a boilermaker back then at Doorbale van der... It was called Dom and Long van der Bijl. And we used to build army tanks.
Wow.
You're taking me back, John. We used to build tanks for the army and things like that.
What part of the tank were you building?
Everything. Everything. We worked in a special department which was called the preparation bay. And that was supposed to be like a secret, And we used to repair tanks that were bombed on the border. You remember there was the war on the border, Valvers Bay and things like that. And we used to get tanks that used to come in that need to be repaired. And what we found in the tanks that were returned to us, I'm not going to go into details, my brother. Yeah, you know, there's so many secrets. And I worked there for 14 years. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore.
Hang on. I'm not asking you to do. What do you mean? Are you talking? What kind of things are you talking about? Like bodies or things?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I don't want to get heavy. I just.
Well, it's just stuff that people didn't notice. You'll find a finger or a leg that's somewhere, you know, hidden somewhere in the tank that they didn't notice it. So it's all these things, and you think to yourself, like, there's all these young people, 17, 18-year-olds going to the army, not even know what this war is about, and this is how they end up, you know. So I had to quit the job and go full-time into music. So I was married then as well. So June 1976, the uprisings, that was the turning point of my life. I said to myself, the world doesn't need another guitar player. The world doesn't need another organ player. The world doesn't need another piano player. You know, there are so many of them. We're such a popular band. People come to us and we do cover versions, but they never really bought our music, except I'm a Married Man, which was a big hit. But other than that, they'll rather listen to the original. They choose us as an alternative because we played covers. So that's why they would come and listen to us. I want to do something. If I have a reason, if I want to play music, continue, I want to have a very good reason for playing music in the new South Africa, because I knew back then, June 1976, that something big is going to happen. And there were many artists who actually left the country, went in exile for the right reasons. I was offered to go and live in London, and I refused because I said, no, I want to see these fires go dead. It's burning, but I want to help kill the fires. We don't know what's going to happen. So I've been listening to struggle songs like people like you, Masikela, Mzwake Mbule, Papa and Blondie, the African Youth Band, the Mellow Poets, Patsumi, Sakile, Spirits Rejoice. All those bands came out with struggle songs, helping people, encouraging people to keep on fighting. Abdullah Ibrahim, they were living in exile, and they were also coming out with very, very powerful songs. I remember Abdullah came out with a track which was called Blues for a Hip King, which was an amazing
still one of the greatest songs ever.
And people were hanging on to all those songs that encouraged them to pull through in the struggle. And I was looking for something that I can contribute in the new South Africa. And all of a sudden, I realized that on the radio stations, there were no indigenous music being played anymore. They used to call it Radio Bantu back in those days. The Venda radio stations and the Zulu radio stations, the Xhosa, all those radio stations, the pure, undiluted indigenous music just disappeared, and it gave way to the sounds of the West. And I said to myself, I want to be someone who will protect and preserve these indigenous instruments. And then that's where I decided this is a good reason to continue as a musician. And most of the guys in the band, when I said, look, guys, I feel it's a calling. And so they said to me, you're not going to make money, man. You're going to starve to death. I said, well, if that's what it is, then so be it, you know. And I went from rural area to rural area, going to Mama and Ubaba, asking them to teach me these instruments. And these people were so helpful, like saying, you want to learn to play this? Our children are listening to bubblegum music, and I said, I really want to learn it. And one of the people who really helped me a lot, I must say, was Andrew Tracy.
I know the Tracy family well.
You see, And he's the one who introduced me when we went to play for the Grahamstown Festival. I was with Paul Henmer and Vaughan on saxophone. We had Fana Zulu on bass and myself. And he took me to the Ngoko Cultural Village in Ngoko, in Lady Frey. And he introduced me to the indigenous, how do they call them, the ladies from the mountain who did the overtone singing. And that was just absolutely amazing to hear these overtone chants, which was similar to that of the Tibetan monks. And he left me there for 3 days with these people. And they asked me, what do you want? And I said, I want to learn whatever I can learn from you. Teach me. They taught me how to play umkhube. They taught me how to play uhadi. That's the second instrument. And in the meanwhile, Andrew Tracy had sent me a kalimba, which his wife, I think her name is Barbara, I think. She brought the kalimba to me when I was working at Kohinoor for Rashid Vali. And he had a record company called Asham Records, Ashams. That's where Abdullah Ibrahim recorded. So after I had left the factory, I went to work in the store as an in-store promoter. And this is the time when I met Andrew Tracy, and he introduced me to the kalimba. So I had the kalimba, I had uhadi, and I had umkhube, those three instruments that I was playing around with. And then as the years went by, I released another album. I released a lot of albums still on that pop sort of style with Basil Coetzee, the late Sipho Gumera. Basil is late, Robbie Johnson is late.
I've got all those albums that you're on there.
You know, yes, you know, all the movement in the city. You do? Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So those were the years, and I remember there was an album that we released. It was called Black Teardrops. Gosh, it's just so funny because when we got together in the studio, myself, Robbie Johnson, Basil Coetzee, and Harry Roger, he used to play with the Flames at one stage, I think, and we did this album. We were all so depressed. I was going through a divorce at the time. And Sipho had problems, Robbie had problems, Basil Coetzee had problems, and this album came out so dark, you know. And we listened to the playback. It's like, man, this album is really dark because we all were feeling down. And that was in the 80s, I think, early 80s. And the country was burning. Every township was on fire. It was burning. And we released the album and we called it Black Teardrops. And that was it was basically like, we standing in solidarity with the rest of the people who were struggling in the country. And the album actually went big, Black Teardrops. And as I speak now, I was just approached by a London company who wants to release it as on vinyl, Black Teardrops. It's got a lot of history. So, and then that went by. 1990, finally, I met Johnny Clegg, and he saw me playing the kalimba and stuff like that. And he said to me, Pops, why don't you include this into your music? I said, this is what I do. This is my plan. I'm planning to start a band that's got a vision, like sort of past, present, and future sound. I just want to play indigenous instrument and have a modern band, saxophone, guitar, keyboards, and stuff like that. And I released an album called Kalamazoo. That was in 1990. And on Kalamazoo, there was a track called From Zimbabwe to Soweto, where I played the kalimba for the very first time on this track. And it was so amazing, John, that people noticed this was unusual for someone to take an old dance style. They had a dance style in the late 70s, early 80s, which was called the bump jive. Do you remember the bump jive, where people would be dancing bump and touching the bum? They used to call it the bump jive. There was a very popular band called the Movers, and they did the bump jive.
I've got the Movers records as well.
So that's the bump jive,
That's nice to know.
So I took a bum jive track, and because I knew keyboards, and I wanted to have my own sound instead of vamping those chords like they did in the bum jive. I started using chord progressions like in jazz because I studied jazz appreciation on piano, and I started using electric piano, and then I overdubbed on guitar, and I had Sipho Gumede on bass, and Basil Kutsia. Oh no, Morris Goldberg. He lives in New York now. He's been there for over 45 years. Morris Goldberg was one of the main soloists on Abdullah Ibrahim's album,
Right.
Menenberg, but they never
Right.
mentioned him. And he's still pissed off because they never credited him on the album.
In Manenberg. Jeez,
Exactly.
that is an oversight.
Yeah. So when he approached the company to say, why is my name not on there? They said, no, it's a print error. He says, but you can fix it. They said, yeah, sure, yeah, but they never fixed it. So,
Jeez, that is hard.
So that's what's happening. So I released Kalamazoo from Zimbabwe to Soweto with the kalimba, and it became a big township hit for the fact that I used a electric piano on that, and I did my own guitar style overdubs on that, Sipho on bass, and Basil Morris Goldberg on penny whistles, and it went so big. And all of a sudden, all the attention was focused onto me, the newspapers, the media, print media, radio stations, TVs, and all that. People wanted to know because they heard the Imbira, which was interesting and very unusual about that. So I thought to myself, I've got something here. And Johnny spoke to me and he said, Pops, man, you really have something going there. You got to keep at it. And we started performing live. Sipho Gumede had his own band, and we used his band as the Kalamazoo band. So when Sipho performs his stuff, he would say, and now we present Kalamazoo. So, but Kalamazoo would be me. So I would just walk onto stage with my Imbira and start performing. And we had fun. We played in Swaziland and all those places. And then I kept on doing research. My next instrument that I wanted to play was to play something from the Kalahari Bushman. And I didn't know if they had music, because when we saw on Discovery TV, all you just see is the sand people with the bow and arrows, like, doof, 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 you know? And I said, it's so strange. We see this all the time, but why don't we see the music by these people? And I went to every single shop. They had Look and Listen back in those days and all those stores, Plum Crazy. And people said, we've never heard of music by the Khoisan. You must be crazy. We don't even think anything like that exists. And then I finally went to the SABC. They had nothing. And then the engineer there said to me, look, we may just have something. And he went into the archives, and in those days it was analog, reel to reel. And he said, we've got something on reel to reel. We'll transfer it onto cassette. This was in 1989, I think. He transferred the music onto a cassette, and I paid 30 Rand. 30 Rand back in those days was a lot of money, John. So I bought it from them, and they transferred it. I took it home. It was in Afrikaans.
You're probably the first and only person ever to ask for that. They only ever made 30 Rand off that clip.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So I got home, and then it turned out that this recording was recorded in 1952 by a British journalist who came to South Africa to visit the San people. He recorded them, took it back to the British archives, in Britain for BBC, and SABC actually bought that back as a documentary, not for the music, but for some other stuff. And the music just happened to be part of that, fortunately. So I brought the cassette back and I listened to it. It was all in Afrikaans. And I listened to the music and I listened to the music and I said, man, this music is from something else, from some planet or it sounded like music from a lost city that had been destroyed by a comet or something like 2 million years ago. This music, that's what it sounded to me like. And I found I was very intrigued and I thought, well, if this was recorded in 1952, what would it sound like today? And I took my chances. I was signed by Melt 2000 in London as an artist. And I quit the job at Koinu as an in-store promoter, and I went to live in London for a while. And the guy, Robert Trans, I think you may be familiar with his name. And he said to me, Pops Mohamed, we'd love to record your solo album. And while I was living in London, I had recruited many artists for the label. The late Moses Mluleko, Busi Mhlongo, Madala Kunene, Sipo Komedi, what's his name? The DJ guy, what's his name? The top DJ.
Mosquito?
Nati. No, not Mosquito, man. Black Coffee.
Oh, Black Coffee.
Yeah, they had a band called Shana, and he was a keyboard player. So I recruited all these people to be signed up with Melt, including Amampondo, Busum Klongo, and Amampondo.
Wow. Jeez, what a lineup.
So I was sitting there and I was just getting them. Zim Mwana, you just name it, Paul Henmer, McCoy Mkhubata, you know.
Geez, I missed him. He was something special too.
Yes, very special. So after recording all these people, he said, when are you going to do an album? And I said, you know what I'd love to do, Robert? If I want to do my album, I want to go to the Kalahari Desert and I want to record the Bushmen and use their music.
Wow.
As my first album for Melt. And they all agreed. They said, wow, you actually want to go to the desert? I said, yes. And my wish came true. They got a crew, a camera crew and everything. And we flew down to Namibia, Windhoek. And from there we took a jeep. And there we went. Ben Watkins, known as Juno Reactor. I don't know if you remember, if you know a group called Juno Reactor.
I don't remember.
Yes. And Ben Watkins himself was there. But if you have watched the music, The Matrix Reload, the second one, the music right at the end where the drumming and this techno sound is just so hectic. It was actually Ben Watkins who went to LA. They actually listened to his music. And they also had Mabi Tabajani, who's playing the congas. And there's a track called Conga Fury, which they actually used.
I'm writing that down. Conga Fury. What a name for a track.
Yes.
Nice.
So so many stories, John, you know. But let's just stick to the San people.
Yeah.
So we managed to get to the desert, and I had that cassette with me that I got from the SABC. So we stayed for 2 days, not actually contacting the people, but we had our tents and they would pass, hello, you know. Eventually, the third day, they approached us and said, how are you guys? No, we're fine. What are you doing? We said, we came to visit you people. We love your environment. You know, the people are so friendly and things like that. And they said, well, we're having a trance dance tomorrow, this evening. Would you like to come and join us? We said, lovely. Would you mind if we film? And they said, no, we don't mind at all. And then I finally spoke to this old man. His name is Gubi. He's still my friend. He's now in his late 80s, I think 89. He's got a cell phone, by the way, now. So I reach him much easier. And they did this trance dance, and we started filming and recording on that machine. And I explained to them the next morning what I'm planning to do. I said, look, I've listened to your music on a tape that was recorded in 1952. And this had just confirmed, I played him the cassette. And he said, well, that song Badaso Spiel is Voeltjie. The name of it's called The Bird, Voeltjie. On Salom Sing for your Fernand. And that evening.
So he knew the song?
Yes, he knew the song. He says it's an old traditional song. It's called The Bird. And that evening when they did the trance dance, they sang The Bird. And the music, John, now this gave me goosebumps. Since 1952 up to then, when I went to see them for the very first time, early 90s, had not changed. It wasn't influenced by any Western music. And even up to today, as I speak right now, it hasn't changed. It's remained the same. And I was so pleased that these people's music hasn't changed. And they taught me the mouthbow and how to play the Khoisan harp. It's a 5-liter oil can, and it's got 4 strings, just like wire from the one corner attached onto 4 sticks, on the other end, going down that way. And he plays it like this, with the 4 fingers. And it's called Ikwasi. And then the mouthbow, it's called Ikuma. And then they also have a form of imbira, which is called instinkan. So I've learned those 3 instruments from the Sand People. And we recorded the Sand People. We spent a whole week. We recorded different samples. And then we went back to London. And I started a band. I deliberately did not want to have a South African band because I wanted a global sound. If I had booked a South African band and fuse it with that of the Sand, the music would be too African, especially if I wanted to have an international release. So I said, I'll get a band together in the UK and who'll pretend that they're playing African. You know what I'm saying? And that's good enough for me. So
Wow.
just before we left the UK, a day before we left the UK, I had a DAT machine, and I had a DAT cassette of 90 minutes, and I put the DAT cassette.
For you kids out there, a DAT machine is sort of like a combination of a tape player and a CD player, I guess. A digital tape, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. yes.
Because no one said the word DAT in the last 20 years. Never mind.
Well, I still have that machine. If I happen to come back on the show, I'll show you all these things. They're all around here. So I took 2 microphones, a B&K microphone, 2 of them, which Peter Thwaites is a great sound engineer, one of the best sound engineers. He actually mastered Paul Simon's album, Graceland. And the speakers that I'm listening on to right now, you can't see them, they're here. These are the speakers where they mastered Graceland on.
Wait, I've got to interrupt you. I've got a story for you. Just a short one. We have got at Amped the mix. It's not set up in a box. The mixing console, the Harrison mixing console that they recorded Graceland on, is in pieces. And we've got all the pieces. And what we want to do is rack mount them next to the mixing console so that we can record through it. Just wanted to say. So between you, me, we could probably put together the whole Graceland studio setup.
You have a Harrison mixing desk?
I've got the Harrison mixing desk, the one that Paul Simon recorded on. From down to it
was recorded on the Harrison desk.
Yeah, I've got that one. I've got the one he recorded on. My friend Brian O'Shea owns it, and he's kind of lent it to us. It's still in pieces, but we're going to restore it.
Oh man! And I have the speakers that was actually mastered, where Graceland was mastered on.
Amazing.
Gosh, I can't believe this. So anyway, so I took this DAT machine and I've got these 2 B&K microphones, and I just stuck them outside my tent, and I went to sleep, and I set my alarm for 90 minutes. And I recorded just nothingness of the desert. And I had those 90 minutes of nothingness. When we got to London, like a week later, we started arranging, auditioning musicians and things. And I put a really nice band together, Jessica Lauren on keyboards, Andrew Missingham on drums, and a great Black London lady, playing bass. Oh gosh, she's just a killer bass player. And I had this amazing band that I've chosen. And then I workshopped them, actually. and I showed them all the tapes because I filmed all that stuff. I have the archives. I've got them up there, actually.
We got to
Everything.
talk. We got to talk, Pops. We got to get all your stuff in one place for the world to see. I mean, you've got history in that house over there.
I have the archives of everything I do. I never knew I'd be interested in film and editing one day. All I just wanted to do is to have a camera. And I think I was born at the right time, if I want to put it that way. And I filmed everything that I have that I'm telling you. I have it all archived. So we got to the studio and they saw the sand. They saw me in the desert, all these musicians, and I explaining to them the culture, how it works and everything, so that they could get an understanding of what I'm looking for. We got into the studio, and the first thing I did, I said to the engineer, I want you to take that cassette before you do anything and record everything that's on there. And he said, okay, and he recorded. He says, but there's nothing there. I said, that's exactly what I want. I want nothingness, you know? And then all of a sudden, here and there, you would hear in the far distance, Yo Masa Moore.
Wow.
And then, you know, Yo Masa P. And that. And then you would hear something like a snake, like a rattlesnake go, and then there's a bee that would go past, you know, because it's stereo, you could hear and all these sounds. So eventually he said, oh, I can hear something. I said, just put it as a bed. So he laid that nothingness. And then eventually, when we came to the songs that I had chosen, because every song on the album, it's got a very strong and powerful story to it, because everything that I recorded, they would tell me the meaning of these songs. So I rehearsed the band and rearranged the music. Well, there wasn't music. I actually composed the music, and we played on top. We didn't sample anything of the Khoisan, nothing. There was no cut and paste. We just let it run all the way through, and you had this bed of nothingness running in you know, at the bottom of the song, and it was analog back in those days. Also, we had it was a Studer mixing desk, huge one. There we go. So. So we recorded on the Studer reel-to-reel, a great sound engineer, Richard Edwards. And it was so funny. We did the song Spirit, which you filmed. Do you remember 20 years ago?
It's so crazy. Yes. I remember that shooting that music video as if it was yesterday. Oh, Pops, I think we just lost you.
Welcome back.
Sorry about that. This was the data issue we were discussing earlier.
Yeah. I hope you don't mind me.
So this show is called What's Your Poison? Whatever you do, you do.
It's my poison. It's only this that I need to get rid of. Otherwise, I think I'm fine.
What are you smoking there? Cigarette or something else?
Cigarette.
Oh,
so
that's fair enough.
Yeah. But we were talking about the instruments, right?
No, you just reminded me about the music video. So this is where we first met, even though I didn't realize it. I remember this. I was 20 years old, maybe 21, and Sheer Records came up to me, and I was an aspiring director. All I wanted to do was direct.
Right.
And if I might be wrong about this, they said to me, we've got 60,000 Rand. We need you to do 3 videos in a week.
Mm-hmm.
The one was a very young Nkoirabata who just started.
Yes,
the other was Winston Mankuku, and it was the only music video he ever did, and I shot it on a little 8mm Bolex film camera.
Yes.
And the third one was the legendary Pops Mohamed, and that was I remember we had an eagle even. I spent
Yes,
90% of the
the
budget on
guy with
getting
the
that
whistle.
eagle.
The guy with the whistle, with the silent whistle.
That's right. And
And then the
if I
eagle
remember
came to me.
correctly, that we got the eagle to land on your hand and then sort of
And,
take off
and, and,
into the sky.
and then I kissed him and I let him
Yes,
go.
you kissed the eagle. That's right. And then you let it go.
Because why spirit is such a big part in my life is that ever since I was a child.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you mind just moving your face over an inch so you're in the square? There you
Right.
go. I got you back. Got you back. Sorry about that.
Ever since I was a child, whenever I dream that I'm in trouble or people chasing me or anything that happens, I used to do this with my arms, and I would transform into an eagle and I would fly, and I would always see the world through the eyes of an eagle. And I've learned from the Khoisan that my totem spirit is the eagle, and that's why I decided that. Well, I think you decided that we go to the sand dunes, So that song is still so popular, and that is still this far one of my best videos.
Wow.
And it's one of my best tracks that I perform live. Actually, people love Spirit. Every single musician, McCoy, Kaya Maklangu, all of the guys, all the jazz cats, they love Spirit, and they love the video. And it was well edited.
I can't believe. I mean, I couldn't have guessed that 20 years later I'd be sitting here having this conversation with them. I mean, it's how the universe works is sometimes completely mind-boggling to me.
It's mind-boggling. It's really mind-boggling. So we're in the studio and we recorded how far we come. We haven't cut and pasted anything of the Sand People. So the funny thing is that the day when we started mixing the album, I remember it was in Worthing. Peter Thwaites was the sound engineer, the same guy who mastered Paul Simon's album. And he had his earphones on. And as he was mixing, and all of a sudden he goes like, hey, hey. I said, what's wrong? And he says, yo, and he took his earphones off. He says, Jeebus, I don't know what's going on. It was the sound at the end of Spirit. There's a bee that's going like, and that came through the ambient microphone when I was recording the Nothingness. And it came exactly right at the end.
Excuse me.
So that again tells me that that's some kind of a spirit. You know what I'm saying? And he thought there was a bee in his ear or something, and he got such a fright when he was mixing.
You said you had the stereo DAT recording of this bee.
Exactly, going from the one ear to the other ear. And Richard Edwards also experienced the same thing. So that was the most amazing part of the album. If I did not record that Nothingness, the album would have been something else. And even now, when I do solo performances, I still have that same DAT. Well, it's transferred. I archived it onto a DVD, and I just play it in the background. And I don't mind people saying your Marsity and your Marsita in the background. It's just the way it came out.
Exactly, it is what it is. It's an authentic recording of what was going on.
And I tell them the story about that. It's a very unique story. So that makes it up to about 7 instruments so far. And then 1998, Salif Keita.
Okay, we're getting to, I've got this album as well, Black Disco Night Express. Are we there? Are we at that point? I mean, that's a legendary album.
That album has been reissued about 3 years ago by...
I've got the reissue. Any chance you know where I could get an original from? I've been hunting for one. Haven't you got one? I'll buy it from you.
I do have. I look into my archives. The original Night Express. Actually, it's so funny that you're talking about that. I've just spoken to Kgaleme Montlantle a few months ago, and he wants me to digitize some of my classic albums for him. So I have that commission still that I have to do, find the time to give it to him as a present, you know. So, yeah, definitely I could see if I have a spare copy. I'm absolutely sure. Since I moved to Boksburg, I haven't packed out my vinyl albums yet, but I'm absolutely sure I still have.
I'm going to tell you this right now. Pops, if you've got doubles of anything in your archive,
Mm-hmm.
I will sell everything I have here to buy those things.
Oh my God.
If you've got a Black Disco Night Express, any of those albums, I mean, I'm sort of obsessed with all of this music, so I'm hunting all the time to try and find a copy. And I've got the reissue because I love the album, but I'm really trying to find the originals of all of this stuff.
If you're serious about that, I could make a plan.
I'm deadly serious. I couldn't be more serious. Hold on, I can be. Hold on a second.
Right.
There. How's that?
Wow.
That's as serious as I can be.
Okay. Now I can see that. So, yes, I do have a lot of albums in my archives, you know, really great albums that people can't find anymore. But the good thing is that I'm just like fast forwarding now. That the album that we did of the Sand People in the Kalahari Desert was number 16, and it dropped down to number 8 on the world music charts. It was on the world music charts for 18 weeks.
Wow.
And Tower Records in London, whenever you enter Tower Records, when you get out of the train, you know, when you get to Piccadilly Circus, you just walk straight into Tower Records, and there you have the album. It's displayed there, the album of the month, you know. And
how amazing.
And you know how huge Tower Records used to be, which became Virgin afterwards. I don't know what's happening now.
So who released that in the UK? Was that a Melt? Was that a Melt release?
It was Melt. And now it's the beauty. Yes, the beauty, my friend. I own the masters of that album now.
How yes. Okay.
How far have we come is the name of the album. The owner of Melt Records, who's based in Durban right now, he moved from Switzerland and then went to London, and then from London he came to South Africa. He's living in Durban right now, and he's retired, and he's given the masters of the entire Melt catalog to each and every artist. So I own 5.
That is just to stop on that thing. What an amazing thing to do. That is just an incredible thing to do. Wow.
No record company would ever do that. So I'm sitting on...
And it makes so much sense now that you say it. Every record label should do this.
Every record label should actually do that. So I have this whole catalog from the Melt stuff, including the drum and bass album that I did in London with 2 young DJs, 3 actually, who call themselves the London Sound Collective. And I used the sound samples of the Xhosa music, but we use it as a speed garage, hip-hop, trip-hop, drum and bass. It's basically a drum and bass album, which became a big hit in London and in France, you know. So after how far have we come? 1998, at the Tendo in Yeovil, Salif Keita came for the first time in South Africa, and he had 2 Kora players with him, Dembo Conte and Kause Kuyate. And they opened up for him. And these were the most... I've never heard Kora before. You know, this was the first time I was exposed to a Kora. I remember seeing a guy play in New York, but I didn't have an idea of what it was until I saw these 2 guys open up for Salif Keita. And I followed them to every single concert, trying to persuade them to sell their choras to me. And every time they would say no, you know, including the workshops in Soweto. Then they had a workshop at the Baseline in Johannesburg after the Baseline had moved to Johannesburg from Melville. And they would see me, and you get that funny look on their faces, like, oh, there's that guy again, you know.
How are we going to avoid that guy?
How are we going to avoid that guy? Because I would point to the chorus and say, you know. So I thought, well, the least that I could do, these guys were just absolutely stunning. They were playing old school kora. I didn't know then. I only found out recently what they were playing back then was the old school. It's not new school.
Well,
So
hold on, wait. What's the difference between old school kora and new school kora? How can there be? Isn't it all old school kora? What's the difference?
well, I mean, if you listen to the young kora players today, like Siddiqui Diabati and all these new kora players, they use wah pedals, they use fuzz boxes and all these step pedals, and a lot of improvising and stuff like that, like very futuristic, you know. Um, I'll send you a link to Siddiqui Diabati, who is Tumani Diabati's son, playing bass with Marcus Miller. And it is one of the best performances that I've ever heard of new school. So old school, when I talk about old school kora playing, it's something that's been preserved from 600 years ago and only played by a small amount of people. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a
Yeah.
style that young kora players wouldn't want to do. Like, oh, that's too old for us. You know, it's not what we want. So
Can I ask you this question? Derek Gripper, I know that, his transpositions from kora to guitar, is that the old school style or is that the new school style?
It is old school, and some of it is new school, but mostly old school. That's what he's doing, and he's doing it absolutely amazing. You know, he's just one in a million.
Can I tell you I know this is your space, but I just want to say Derek Gripper and I are lifelong. I mean, we don't see each other very often, but growing up, we were inseparable buddies and we started our music careers together. We started a band at a very, very early age. And for many years, we were just making music together and we went our separate ways and sort of come back together now. But I go way back with that guy, weirdly. We were each other's first kind of best friends and musical sort of mates.
Wow.
Yeah, weirdly, just by coincidence.
Well, there's someone in Senegal, in Senegal right now who absolutely amazed. He's absolutely amazed by Derek Gripper's work. I just sent it to him last week, in fact, a few days ago, and he went like, wow.
Can I tell you something? For me, I went to see Derek Gripper play in London in the Globe with John Williams. And I say this with respect to both artists. Derek Gripper ate him for breakfast.
Really?
Derek was a monster. It was incredible.
No, Derek has always been a monster, man. He's such a monster. I mean, I listen to I watch his teachings as well on YouTube, and he's just an amazing guy, and he makes it so easy to understand how to play the music of the griots, you know? So,
anyway, back to your story.
Right. So these guys, I realized now I'm not going to win with them. The least that I could do is to invite them to my house. I was living in Orange Grove back at the time. And I said to the guys, look, I know tomorrow is Sunday, it's your last day. Can you at least come to my house for lunch? I'd love to, make lunch for you guys. They said, no, that's fine. We're leaving on Monday morning. And they came to my house and they said, we prefer to cook our own food. And I took them to the supermarket.
They're so difficult, these guys. They're giving you such a hard time here.
A hard time. Yeah, they gave me a hard time, man. And they went and they bought like tomato paste and different kinds of spices that they bought. And they cooked the most amazing meal, which they said was a meal from Timbuktu, which is similar to a tagine, tagine.
Yeah.
And they ate and we had such fun just having this food. And then that was like 12 o'clock, around about 12:30, 1:45, they went to sleep. And I thought, what the hell is going on now? They fell asleep in my lounge. And my partner at the time, I asked her, what's going on here? And she said, no, it's siesta. This is their bodies are telling them it's time to sleep. This is what they do back home. So around about 5 o'clock, they woke up and said, "Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Mohamed." And then they said, "Take us, we believe you're a musician." I said, "Yes." I took them into my music studio, and they saw all these amazing instruments like imbiras and the mouth bows and stuff like that. And they were like little kids in a candy store.
Now you got him. You got him.
And they were like, "Touch, can you play this?" And I said, "Yes." And I played this imbira. "Can you play this?" And I played the mouth bow. And I'm just playing all these instruments. And they were absolutely amazed. So now they're in doubt. And Dembo says to me, "You know, we would really, really love to have sold you or given you our chorus. But the fact is, we're leaving for London tomorrow morning. And our manager is so strict. If we get there without a chorus, we'll be in big trouble. She is like the bee from hell." I said, "She? Who is she?" And they said, "No, you won't know her. But I know that at SOAS, there's a woman who I got to know by the name of Lucy Duran. And she is the Andrew Tracy of Kora. You know what I mean? Ethnomusicologist, and she studied Kora all her life, and she traveled to West Africa. And I knew that she was managing Tumaniti Bauti at the time. And I had actually introduced her to her husband, who is a trumpeter from Cuba, back in the days when I was still, hanging around in London. So I thought the guys are talking about the she. I said, "Are you talking about Lucy Duran?" They said, "Yes." "Do you know Lucy?" I said, "Of course I know Lucy. She's a professor. She teaches at SOAS at Holborn in London." And they said, yes. She's a crazy woman." I said, "Just hold on. So Lucy Duran is your manager?" They said, "Yes." So I got to say hallelujah to that one.
Hallelujah to that one. So they sold you the Cora.
No, I called Lucy.
And how did you get the Cora in the end?
I called Lucy and I said, "Hey, Lucy, hey, Pops, I haven't heard from you for a long time." She says, "Man, my guys are in South Africa. They're touring on South Africa, Dembo Conte."
And you're
and
like,
Tulsa.
"Yes, they're sleeping on my couch right now."
I said, "Yes, they're here in my house right now at the moment. And I'm trying to persuade them to sell me the chorus." She says, "You want to play Cora?" She says, "What are you like? What am I going to do with you? You really want to play the Cora?" I said, "Yes." They're here and they're telling me that you're going to give them hell. She says, "Pops, man, we've got so many choras here at SOAS. Just give Dembo the phone." So I gave him the phone. I said, "It's Lucy." So he spoke, "Hi, Lucy." And she says, "Just give him the chorus, and then just give him your chorus." Yes. So the guys said,
"And
okay,
are those still the choras you have today?"
The two of them, actually. I have the one just right there. I don't want to walk away out of the shot, but I've had the Cora, and the Cora that I'm performing with, the one that you know, is the one from Dembo Conte, and the other one is from Kause Koyate.
I'm very happy if you want to go and get one, so I can see one. I'll happily sit here and Twitter, because it'll be beautiful. All right, we'll wait.
Yes. Okay.
I'll sing that MTN song while you're gone.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, this is amazing.
So here we go.
So that's that. So what year we talking about? 1980. 1989? Is that when
1998.
1998? So
Yes.
this is the Cora that they left you when they left your house.
Which they gave me. It was it's funny because when Lucy said give him the chorus, they hung up on the phone, and then they said to me, "Don't tell Lucy. Give us 300 pounds." So I
Really?
paid. Yes. So
Oh,
because I've been hanging around in London, so I had a lot of English pounds with me. So I gave him 300 pounds for this one. And then Dembo Conte said, you can have mine as well, but please don't tell Lucy. So he gave me his Cora. I think I had about 900 pounds with me, just stashed away. And I gave him 300 pounds, and they gave the Coras to me. And for 1 year, I was so intimidated by the Coras with so many strings on it. Every time I look at the Cora, I say, oh my God, I don't think I can play that. The only thing they taught me to do was how to fix the Cora when the strings are broken, when the strings break, and they gave me the tools to fix it because there wasn't time to give me a lesson or anything. The guy was just playing like, and he was playing like a wizard, Kose Kuyate. And for 1 year, I was so intimidated. I didn't know what to do. Everything.
you didn't touch it for the first year.
No, not at all. I just looked at them. And then the second year, because I'm a guitar player, I said, why don't I use my guitar skills and apply them to the Cora? Because I cannot play like the griots, like, the way Derek Gripper does on the guitar. And I certainly don't want to play like the West African guys because there are millions, thousands of them playing the same style. They all sound the same. I want to play the Cora in such a way that South Africans would love, or it should be pleasing to the South African ear. And I was so fortunate at the time that we were touring with Busi Mklongo, Amon Pondo, Lulu Plaikis. During that time, we went to tour in Switzerland with Max Lesser, who was the former guitar player for Andreas Vollenweider.
Right.
And we did an album. That's a whole long story anyway. And the name of the tour was called the No Name Tour. And we met Andreas Vollenweider on that tour because he sponsored the tour. And I looked at Andreas and I thought, well, this is going to be my inspiration because his harp is tuned in the Western tuning. So I started listening to Andreas Vollenweider, and I took all the knowledge that I knew of a guitar or any stringed instrument to study the keyboard of the Cora. So this is the keyboard, if I would call it, each and every single note. So I wanted to know what each string means and how do you use the instrument to play a song. It took me 6 months to understand just the keyboard by playing a song which I've called The Long African Journey, which taught me the whole range of the 21 strings. And I played The Long African Journey, which is my first composition ever on the Cora. And it's an amazing song. I really love it. I haven't officially recorded it, but I played it on concerts many times. If we have time, I'll play it for you if you want to. So I played The Long African Journey.
I'm ready for it. Let's go.
So that was the first song, my Cora song, that I actually played.
Can you play it now?
Yeah. I'll have to get the other Cora, Fatima, named after my mom.
Carry on. Sorry, please tell me about that.
I named the other Cora of Dembo Conte, I named it Fatima after my late mom, because the instrument had a female feel to it, it really felt like a female. And I thought, how can I name this instrument? And I could only think of one person, is that
Beautiful.
it's my mom, Fatima, and that's the name of the Cora. So, and I used Fatima ever since, and me and Fatima have traveled the world, all over the world. And if she could talk, she'll tell you so many stories, good ones and bad ones. How she got crushed sometimes at the airports, when and things.
I know that story.
Yeah, but we have a long history.
I
So
ask you this question only out of reverence and respect, and I hope it doesn't come out badly. But I mean, first of all, you are an encyclopedia of South African legacy and history. Something that South Africa, is something we've spoken about a lot. The South African music story has not been told. It's a tragedy. And my question is, like, from just this conversation and a few that we've had before, your house is a museum it's a gold mine. Go for it. It's everything in your house is the story of Africa, the story of music, the story of South Africa, the story. What happens when you're gone? What happens to this history? Something has to happen with what you have collected over these years. It needs to be preserved. Is this something you've thought about, or is this?
It's something that crossed my mind for the last 3 months, and I said, if ever I close my eyes one day, what's going to happen? How do I distribute my knowledge and my archives? Who should be in control of my archives? I'd love to leave a lineage of people who would be following my works. And the instruments and the archives, I have so much here with me that I wish I could share with the world. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it.
I'm going to help you find the right partner, because this has to happen. I mean, it would just, it's too important.
It's huge. I spoke to the film, what's it called? Big Fish, to Melanie Shades from Big Fish.
Yeah.
And she said that I have to categorize everything that I have, on high 8 cassette. It's such a big job to categorize everything that I've done. I'm talking about ethnomusicology. I'm talking about modern stuff. I'm talking about workshops. I'm talking about my travels and things like that. Then also there's a part of my life that a lot of people don't know. I had a band with a black British woman by the name of Zina Edwards. We were called the Millennium Experience. I will send you a copy of that.
I'm writing that down. The Millennium Experience. Yes.
And we toured the world. We were fortunate at the time. We toured the world with the Khoisan. We got sponsorship from Melt. We toured the world with the Vendas, with the Zulus, with the Khotas, the Bedis, the Tswanas. We were so fortunate at that time because Nelson Mandela just became president of the country in 1994. And South Africa was the most focal point of the world. And that's why I'm repeating myself again. I'm saying that I think I was born at the right time. Anything from South Africa, any part of the world was welcome. And we toured the world, me and Zina, representing these different cultures. A London girl went with me to the Kalahari Desert and also went to me to Lady Frere, learning the cultures of the indigenous peoples. And even up to today, I met Zina when she was 17 years old, and Zina is now 50 years old. And she plays like you won't believe. She's so incredible. She's one of the most amazing poets that I've ever come across. And she plays the kalimba, she plays the mbira, she plays the kora. I've taught her so much. I can even send you videos of us in the Kalahari studying the music of the Bushmen. And the Millennium Experiences was a very important part of my life. We performed at places like the October Gallery. We played in Grosvenor, something like that. I don't remember. But Switzerland. We went to the Alps. We went everywhere. We went to Zanzibar, places like that, and just spreading the music of indigenous cultures, because a lot of people today think that indigenous cultures do not contribute to the 21st century, and I think that's bullshit. We have a hell of a lot to learn from indigenous cultures. And we spent 14 years together, me and Zina, traveling the world, and a lot of people in South Africa don't know about the Millennium Experience. And me and Zina have just teamed up now since last week and talking about doing a reunion in November. Hopefully she'll come to South Africa, and I'll be presenting. The two of us will be presenting the music that we did around the world. And we want to include at least one or two members from the Khoisan, from the Xhosas and the Zulus, including the Pedis and the Tswana people, and do this tour so that people could see the kind of work that I've been doing outside of South Africa, because they have no idea up to now what I was up to back in those days. So coming back to the Kora, I did a long African journey. So I'm adding to my list, the question that you asked me before, how many instruments you play. So I added the Kora, and the first song that I ever taught myself to play was The Long African Journey. And from there onwards, I started finding my way, listening to Andreas Vollenweider, and I was so very honored that when he heard me for the very first time to play the Kora, he said to me, "Pops, I have a Kora, and I'd love you to tune it for me." And I tuned him the Kora, I tuned his Kora for him, and he still has the Kora in the same tuning. And he's playing amazing. He's an amazing Kora player now, but he doesn't play it the way the griots play it or the way I play it. He plays it as if he's playing his concert harp, which is really nice again. So I've got Fatima and The Long African Journey, which hasn't been officially released. We did a tour of Germany, myself, Zina, and it was called the South African Village, which was in 1995, the South African Village. We invited people from Venda, from Zululand, KwaZulu-Natal, from Tswana, the Tswanas, and different indigenous people. And it was all sponsored by a company in London called the Music Village. And the tour was called the Music Village Week. And that's the only album that was released, only especially for the tour, where I had the song, The Long African Journey. And it's like very haunting. I'd love to send you the MP3 of that track. But
didn't you say you're going to play it for us now, or should we not do that?
For you right now. No, let's do it. I'm going to use Fatima.
Go get Fatima, Pops.
Okay, I'll get Fatima.
Beautiful. This is What's Your Poison, guys, and what an episode with what an incredible legend. Take a couple of sips of your Viking Scars before you get started to make sure you hit all the right notes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's working. The blood is flowing. Pops, is this your green screen that I'm looking at?
Yes, behind me.
You're looking at a professional video unit, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, basically, I mean, behind the green screen, if you see behind the green screen, you see other patterns as well. So if I do music videos like the one I told you yesterday that I was going to do on OBS, I use the green screen, but I can actually remove that, and then I have that plain African, the plain background at the back. So everything. This is my bedroom, and
I was
everything
going to
is
say,
in
you're
here.
way ahead of a lot of other people, Pops. You're killing it.
So this is my bedroom. It's a broadcasting studio. It's a recording studio. It's. I've got my video editing suite, and all in one. So behind me, here's my bed here, and here I'm sitting in front of the music desk. My recording desk. So when I get tired, I just throw myself on the bed. So this is Fatima, and this is, you can see, I've got a really, this is the other Cora from Demo Conte.
Pops, which is the Corey you used for the music video that we shot 20 years ago?
Fatima.
So that's the same one. I've got close-up, beautiful shots of that on somewhere.
Yes. Oh, yes. Beautiful, man. If you have any stock footage still left, I'd love to have them.
For your archive that you're building there.
Yeah. We actually talk to each other, So the Long African Journey, the reason why I haven't recorded it officially, it's because every time when I perform the song, it comes out different, depending on the energy that I get from the audience, or depending what I project to the audience. So I haven't really come to a version that I think is suitable for me. So I continue playing the Long African Journey with new phrases every time. And it's wonderful. It's a beautiful journey. It actually talks about my journey over the years, ever since I started playing the kora, and added some more instruments to that. So
I've got a proposal for you, Pops.
Yeah.
When I come to Joburg next, we'll drink a little bit more Viking Scars. I'll take you for dinner, and then why don't you come record it at the studio upstairs at Amped with the Harrison, the Paul Simon. Why don't we do it properly for you? And
I'll bring the speakers. I'll bring my.
You bring the speakers.
Near-field speakers. Yeah.
All right. It's a deal. And that'll be your official recording.
Official recording. It's up to you. I'm in. I'm there. Let's do it.
It's not up to me. It just happened.
Yeah. Exactly. It just happened. Die lied is 'n lied wat my hart baie seer maak. Khoisan, Namibia, Kalahari. Khoisan, Namibia, Kalahari. Khoisan, Namibia, Kalahari. Die lied is 'n lied wat my hart baie seer maak. That, you see, so that came out differently today. So that was a long African journey. I mean, I added the phrase today that which I never added before. You know, when I sang the song really hurts me, you know, when I think back of my journeys, struggles, and getting through, and actually achieving and also receiving thanks and the support from people and going through all the struggles and things like that. And that's why I'm saying that this song is a song that really hurts me deep inside. But that means tears of joy. You know what I'm saying, John?
I hear you loud and clear.
It's not a sad song. It's tears of joy. It's tears of joy. There are many forms of happiness, you know. There's happiness when a child is born. People cry because they are happy, and it's tears of joy. And you have different forms of happiness and enjoying life and things like that. So happiness have got all these different degrees. But then there's this thing which is called bliss, which is a very difficult thing to get. If you want to be blissful or you want to be a person who's bliss, you know, it's very, very, very tricky, because to be bliss means you have to be the same person every day of your life, irrespective of what happens, of how people criticize you or how people judge you and things like that. But you have to be bliss and just let it go. If anyone has got a problem with you or about you, it's not your problem. It's none of your business. You know, let them deal with the problem, and you just forgive them for whatever they're doing to you. So you just say, like, look, that's your problem. You deal with it. If you can't speak to me about your problem, I don't want to know about it. So you carry on. I'll be blissful, and I don't have a grudge against you. I'm happy towards you, and that's it, you know. So to be blissful, it's a very difficult thing that one has got to achieve, because first of all, you have to have an interview with yourself. It's like basically having an interview with God, you know, by lighting a candle late at night when everyone is sleeping, and you look at yourself in the mirror, which is very scary. Looking at yourself, and you think about the deepest, the most hardcore secrets that you don't want anyone to know in this world, which is a secret just between you and your God. And all these things, you have to question them. Why did you do this? And why did you do that? You know, all those things. And then also another thing is to get rid of your aims. Sorry. I'm this, I'm that. I can do this and I can do that. You know, sometimes when you have a discussion with people and you say, oh, you know, yesterday I was so lucky, you know, I went to the casino and I scored about 100 or 200 bucks, and someone says to you, oh no, you know, I went to the casino last week and I scored 2,000 bucks and stuff like that. So it's all these aims that we have within ourselves that makes us produce this thing which we call pride. And to get rid of your pride means you have to get rid of your aims. And to get rid of aims is a very difficult exercise. It's a very scary thing to look at yourself in the mirror with a candle and all the lights off and you question yourself. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? And the answers will come to you immediately. So the next day, when you look at people, you see them differently. And also in the same time, people will look at you differently, because now you have a perspective of who you are. You're getting rid of the aims. In other words, you're getting rid of your pride to become a humble person. Because why? You are trying to get bliss. Because bliss is not the easiest thing to achieve. It's very tricky. I've listened to the interview of George Harrison just before he died, when he was talking of to be blissful and to be happy in the different kinds of happiness, because you find happiness and you find sadness, you find good and you find wrong, and all these things work together. You know, don't think that's not better than the other one. Every reverse side has got a reverse side. So to get rid of your aims and in order to get bliss, it's quite a difficult thing to do, but it's a good thing to practice. And also that's what the Long African Journey is about. You know, I'm trying to find bliss within this song. And like you just invited me that we'll work it on the Harrison and we bring the speakers along, I think that would be closure for me, where I think I would find some kind of a level of being blissful, hopefully, like we say in Islam, inshallah, God willing, you know? So, yeah.
Pop,
Sorry, I'm becoming too philosophical.
no, this is what I wanted to say, and maybe this is a great way to close this, and that is, you are such a powerful person. I think I like spending time with you is such an honor, because, and I'm not trying to be cheesy about it, but you know, this whiskey that we are drinking called Viking Scars.
Oh,
Viking Scars, you know, Viking Scars are to me, if I just interpret that, and this is going to sound cheesy, but just like a warrior, you know, Pops, you've seen a lot. You've been, I mean, just these past 6 months, yeah, what I've witnessed you have to contend with on a personal level, on a business level. You lost your entire business in the first month. Um, you know, you have picked up new skills quicker than most people that I work with who are, who are in this business. You know, you are a warrior, but how you continue to speak with such positivity, with such wisdom, it's completely, I could carry on doing this for the rest of the night. And really, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on here, for giving so much of yourself. For me, this little podcast that I love doing. This is such a
It's an amazing podcast. I love it. I watch it all.
historic is what this is.
You don't know. I've listened to every single podcast that you've done, especially the one
Rubbish.
with Arno Carson's, which I really loved, and that actually brought us together again after such a long time. And I'm actually writing the music for Arno Carson's so that he had the lyrics. I think you know the whole story. Watching this podcast, it's such an inspiration to see what people think and where they find themselves at, you know. So for me, basically what you were just saying now, it confirms to me that any problems that you may have or any problems that anyone may have with you without discussing the problems, it's none of your business. So you keep that aside because you're looking for the thing which is called bliss. You want to be blissful. You want to be happy. You want to reload yourself. The person used to be like 25 years ago or 30 years ago. You want to reload yourself. So going back to the word when I said in the beginning, today is the first day of the rest of your life, including you, John. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. So what are you going to do about it?
Well,
you know
I'll tell you this:
saying?
it's been a great day so far. If this,
Exactly. So that's what it is, you know. So we have to go on with life and just leave all those negativity behind. Anything that's negative to you, or anything that which you don't benefit from. Like we say in Islam, it's haram, which means it's not kosher. Anything that's not kosher for you, you just ignore it and just let it go and focus on the good things and focus on the positive things in your life, which makes you happy.
I relate to this so heavily because I have chased a lot of bad things in my life, and I have chased acceptance from people who would never and will never ever get what I'm trying to sell them. And
Right.
it's caused me so much pain. You know, in one situation, it was life destroying. It brought me to my knees for so many years. And what you're saying now resonates very heavily. So I appreciate everything you say.
You know, I think that personally, I mean, this is in my opinion, if anybody has got a problem with you, and if they can't or don't have the courage to discuss it with you, then it's not your problem. You know what I'm saying? It's not your problem at all, because if you can't discuss it with me, then it's not my problem. I'm going to carry on with the life, and I'm going to carry on with what makes me happy, because that's what I want, is happiness. That's all. I just want to be happy and to be content with what I have, with the little that I have and the little that I can contribute to other people, which is much more, 1,000 times better than your negative energy towards me. It's not in comparison. So it's not my problem. I'm not going to care about it anymore. So you deal with it. I don't want to have anything to do with it. But yet in the same time, I don't have a grudge against you. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't have a grudge against you. I forgive you. So it's up to you what you're going to do with whatever you have. I don't want to deal with it. I'm just carrying on with my life and dealing with my life the way I think I should be dealing with it. Growing old gracefully and keep reloading myself, getting in terms with technology and staying in touch with my old friends and meeting new people. That's important. And that's what you call bliss. If you want bliss, those are the things you should be looking about, not worldly things and all those stuff. It doesn't mean a house or anything, a car and all that stuff. It doesn't mean shit to me, you know. All I just want to be is healthy and to be blissful and to be loved. Those are the 3 things, and they're very difficult to achieve. So
well,
you're not...
Loved you are, sir.
You know, so you don't want to deal with any negative energy forces that's being enforced upon you. because as time goes by, those things become invisible. You don't even see them anymore, and it doesn't really matter to you. It's like, this is so small because I have a big responsibility towards myself to make my soul smile. I've got to make my soul smile. No one else is going to make my soul smile except myself. And if I'm not confident about who I am, how are people going to find confidence in me? You know what I'm saying? So it's everything about positive energy that you project to people and how people react to the kind of energy that you give to them. And that's important to me, and nothing else matters, So
Well,
that's what I've learned.
Let's drink to that and say, really, Viking Scars, this is for you. And thank you so much for being on What's Your Poison. It has meant the world to me, and I've absolutely loved. I think this is my favorite episode I've ever done. So
I remember when you told me that it's your baby, and I thought to myself in the last few days, I really want to make it worth its while.
Wow.
Not just for John, but for me.
You've over-delivered.
But for me, I want to make it worth my while so I could get my message across so people could see the other side of me. As a matter of fact, it's funny, John, that you get things out of me that I never used to talk before. I did an album after we recorded How Far Have We Come, which I said was so many weeks on the world charts. At the end of the remixing session, after we mixed everything, the engineer, Richard Edwards, said to me, "Pops, we still have a couple of hours left. What would you like to do with that?" And I said, "Well, let's just record some stuff." And I recorded every single instrument that I had in the studio with me, just to pass time. And he was having a spliff. And just to pass time, I recorded that. And that was back in 1994. Yes, 1994, 95. And 3 months ago, I went through my archives and I found a cassette that said, "The Other Side of Me." And I thought, it's a dead cassette, actually. And I said, what the hell is this? And I played the dead cassette. It was that recording that I did with Richard Edwards in Worthing in London in 1994, round about that. It's every single instrument. And I've just realized that every time when I do a solo performance, people would ask me, "Pops, we've got every single album that you released or some of your albums. When are we going to have an album of you just playing your instruments, one instrument at a time?" And I've been sitting with that for more than 3 decades, almost more than 2 decades. And I didn't even know that. So I've got this dead cassette, which is called The Other Side of Me, which I would love to release and then sell it at my gigs and say to the people, "This is what you want." It might create some new work for me to do individual shows.
We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk business at some point as well. When we do your when I take you for dinner and you come record, I think we've got a lot to talk about. We've got to sort this stuff out. This stuff cannot be sitting in DAT machines in your bedroom. This is historical gold that has to be out in the world. We've got to make a plan here.
I mean, just in front of me, I'm gonna remove the webcam and just show you what I've got that I've collected over the years, and this is just part of what it is. If you look up there.
Well, okay. You've got a library of what are those DATs? Are those DATs or those mini DV tapes or both?
No, those are high 8 tapes. You remember, like 25 years ago, high 8 used to be broadcasting quality.
And have they never been? Has this stuff never been digitized, or have they been digitized in the past?
They haven't been. And that's only part. That's just a small section of what I have. That's only what I have. Yeah. I mean, I have.
It's going to be very irresponsible if we don't get this stuff digitized.
I have this bag full of tapes. And all of them haven't been digitized. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, well, we'll talk about that when I see you next. I just want to thank you one more time and just say how much I've appreciated having you here. And you are incredible. And I don't know, you're the best. This is to you. And I hope you.
You're my hero, John. I've always
Oh,
said that.
come on.
I'm not trying to be biased.
Serious for a second.
I've learned a lot from you with regards to internet networking and also doing online shows. I'm starting to understand, how it works and stuff like that. So basically, I mean, a lot of people say to me, John is a great guy, fantastic. And I thought to myself, like, well, you don't know John the way I know him. I know him from a different angle, And so you have those qualities of not being selfish. You're a selfless person. I want to say to you that you are selfless and you're not worried about, sharing the knowledge that you have. And I want to have the same kind of qualities within me where I could equally share any knowledge which you've shared with me and anyone else.
I feel this is a very equal relationship because I've learned so much from meeting you. So let's just call it. I can't.
Yeah, exactly.
All my love to you and to your family. And thank you.
It takes two of us. And there we go. To you, John. And I'm going back to the editing suite right now.
I got to edit this thing now.
Oh my God. Well, it takes two of us, I mean, people are talking about quarantine. We've been in quarantine all our lives as musicians.
That's the story of producers and editors. This is just another day.
Yeah. The only thing with COVID-19 is that we had to think out of the box, but a month later we realized that there was no box anymore. So it was crunch time. So I'm going to leave you with those last few words in conclusion and stuff like that. And thank you for having me on the show. It's so highly appreciated. I've been dying to come on to the show.
Pops, I'm going to call this episode Pops Mohamed on What's Your Poison, Part 1. Because I would love to have you back to continue from where we left off in 1998 was where
1998, yes, that's right.
And then we'll do another one from 1998 to 2021. Adding
all the instruments, because that was our question. That
was the question that started it.
Yes. Yeah. So, John, thank you so much for having me on the show. I've been looking forward to this for a very, very long time. Arno Cousin speaks wonderfly about you. He's got his very great opinions about you and saying, John Savage is one in a million. And I said, you don't have to tell me that, Brewer. He's got very strong opinions about you and he really loves you. And I can understand. Yeah. So,
well, thanks for telling me these things. It's good to hear them every now and then.
It's good to know that people really appreciate you. And I want to say to the people out there, those who will be seeing the show, that I want to say thank you to the radio stations, the print media, and my Facebook fans, Twitter, Instagram, and everyone. And also those fans of mine, I don't call them fans anymore. I call them friends who have been growing old with me. The best reward that a musician can ever get is growing old with his fans. And that's what I have. And that's the biggest reward to me. It even means more to me than $1 million in my bank account to have true friends. And you, John, are one of my friends.
Wow. I've got no words left, so let's stop it here. I can't deal with this. So thank you for
Okay.
lots of love
Okay.
to you.
Talk
That's
to
too
you
much
also.
now.
Everyone is watching everyone is watching this program. This is my whiskey, and this is my program, and this is Pops Mohamed. Relax and just enjoying this moment with John Savage, one of the most innovative people that I've ever come across in my life, and I mean it. I'm not trying to be biased, but that's what it is. So big up to John Savage and
Get out of here
John.
already.
Shut up. That's my signature. Shut.
I love you, Pops. Take care
I
there.
love you too, John. Take care. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Bye. Cheers. Bye.